So, we're going to talk briefly today about what makes a good paragraph answer to a text based question. We investigated this together in class the other day as a start of our work on information and argument writing. So, here is an example of a good, complete answer. I'd encourage you to push pause for a moment to read, and then we're going to investigate what makes it a good, complete answer. In class, we talked about how one of the reasons that this is a good answer is you can clearly tell what the question was by the very first sentence that was there. We can tell the question was something about what is equality in this new world. We also talked about how this answer has many of the components for CER. So here are the things that a claim or a thesis, they mean the exact same thing, needs to have. It needs to answer the prompt, as we said this one did in the very first sentence. It needs to be one sentence long. The only time you write more than one sentence is if you're writing more than a 3-page paper. Most prompts in high school are not complex enough to require a 2-sentence claim. It needs to have some kind of a because in it, or a word that symbolizes the difference between the rephrasing of the question in the beginning of the answer in the claim and your reasons, your ideas, your topics that follow it. The important thing to remember here is that these components, those reasons, those topics, those ideas, those come from you, whereas the first half of the sentence is just the restatement of the question. In a 1-paragraph answer, your claim needs to be the first sentence. In a multi-paragraph answer or an essay, that claim needs to be the last sentence of your introduction paragraph, so the last sentence of your first paragraph. So here is our claim. We can tell that the question was something about what was equality, and this was the reason, this was the answer. Everyone was the same. So after we have a claim, we have to have evidence. Evidence needs to be directly quoted from the text. That means it has quotation marks around it. It needs to have a citation saying what page or paragraph number it came from that text. If you have more than one text, you may need to put the author's last name as well. Number 3 is our primary focus for the school year. It needs to relate to that thesis topic or your topic of the paragraph. So the evidence needs to actually be selected intentionally, not just the first sentence that you see. We also should be trying to select smaller things rather than larger things. So 1 to 2 sentences is usually sufficient. We do not want to use entire paragraphs or pages of text. We'll also be working on introducing it, so it's not just a sentence of quoted material. So if we go back to our sample, here we have the citation. So it's not inside parentheses, it's listed at the front of the sentence. We have 2 sentences, they have quotation marks, they came directly from the text. And if we analyze it a little further, it is the example of how everyone is the same. So they selected a good piece. The other component that an answer needs, whether it's 1 paragraph or an essay, is reasoning. And there's 2 kinds of reasoning. There's context and connection. The context is going to give that evidence some ideas about where it is in the text. What's happening in this moment? Which text is it from? How can you set up the quote so that you can then connect it to that claim, to that topic? How does this evidence prove my point? Evidence does not speak for itself. You have to explain it. So here we have some reasoning that explains how this shows that everyone is the same, but this makes it better by adding the context. And to sum up, this is how you get a 4 to 7 sentence paragraph.